Attack of the Giant Robot Chickens, installment number 5. Look, I'm sure there's something else we could get in. A nice new jacket or something. You don't have to go if you don't want to. Raina grunted at me and kept walking. I tried again. You don't even need to go. I'm sure that he trusts you. I'm probably the one at fault. So why don't you stay with him and I'll go get it alone? She seemed to consider that for a while, then shook her head. No, we've got to do this. If we get split up, then we might not be able to find each other again. We can't just get something else. If we don't bring back exactly what he wants us to, then he's not going to trust us. And this whole thing is pointless. So we go. We get the TV, then we get out as fast as we can. I sighed and nodded. I guess you're right. But why is she so freaked out about Union Street? She stopped for a second, as if considering telling me, then shook her head and walked on. You still wouldn't believe me. Now, come on. I followed her, wondering if she was right. After Glenn had told us what he wanted, she'd nodded in a sort of trance, then turned to leave. I followed her, sending a threatening glare back over my shoulder at Glenn, so he'd know not to double-cross us. I'm not sure it had worked. He was taller than me as well. After that, we'd gone to a retail park just up the road and spent the night camping in the sofa store there. This morning, Raina had seemed better, but she still wasn't in what I'd call a good mood. So as we walked, I tried to take her mind off it. Hey, I've got a question, I said to her. She didn't look at me, just kept on walking. If it's a chicken joke, then I'm going to punch you in the face, she said matter-of-factly. Yikes. No, it's not that, I answered quickly. I was just wondering if Glenn has enough food to live comfortably. Why is he wanting more? Was he bluffing? She nodded. Yeah, I think so. Certainly he's wanting a lot of food on a regular basis. How much? About 100 cans a week. I whistled. Seriously? That's a lot. What's he wanting with so much food? He already looks well fed. She shrugged. I think he's covering for someone, though he won't say it. I think he's got a little group of his own in there. My guess is that only he's ever around because then if someone turns him in, somehow only he'll get taken and the others will be safe. People do that? Turn other people into the chickens? I was horrified. I've never heard of that happening before. Raina had been relaxing up until now, but she tensed up again. Yup, it can happen. I put a damper on that conversation, and we walked along in silence for a while. Eventually I broke it. You know, there's another explanation, I told her. She looked back over her shoulder and down at me. Yeah? What is it? He could just be really greedy. She looked at me for a second, then burst into laughter. I joined in, pleased to have cheered her up. I mean, look at him, I carried on. He doesn't look like he's in any danger of starving to death. She kept on laughing, though she managed to choke it down and change it into chuckles. I copied her. Laughter could be heard, and though we hadn't seen any evidence of chickens so far, it didn't mean that there weren't any around. Why can't you be like that a bit more often, she asked, once she'd finally regained control of herself. What? I asked, genuinely puzzled. She smiled at me. Funny, she said, gently poking me in the arm. Instead of all the chicken jokes. I shrugged. The chicken jokes aren't for anyone but me. There's a reason behind them. What is that? She asked. I shook my head. Nah, I replied. I know your name now, but we still aren't even. She tilted her head to one side, a faint hint of a smile still on her face. How so? Well, I don't know where you come from. If you want to know why I tell chicken jokes, then I want to know why you swan about on your own as an ambassador instead of joining a group. She stared at me levelly. I don't know where you came from either. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? Oh, that hadn't occurred to me. Maybe I was just paranoid. I don't come from around here. So, where do you come from? And why does it matter? We're about halfway down George Street by now, just passing a leafy park-looking area. I took a quick look around, pretending to be looking for chickens, but instead taking the time to think about what she said. I'm from out in the country, I told her after we'd walked a bit further. From this kind of run-down town called Kemney. It's pretty isolated. I mean, it's big enough. A fair number of shops, an academy, and 2 primary schools. But the buses don't go there, that much for some reason. It's like every 2 hours before you get into Aberdeen. I was coming in with my brother to see a movie when the attack happened. I lost track of him in the chaos and ended up with the guys at the train station. So? She asked. Why is that a big deal? I shook my head. I didn't know anyone in town, and they didn't know me. Everyone else knew at least one person in the group from before the attack, but I didn't. I just never felt like I belonged with them, and I miss my brother. It's been a lonely few months. You never felt like just trying to get along with them? I shook my head. You don't understand. I mean, where are you from? Stonehaven. That was a shock. She was an out-of-towner like me. You aren't from around here either. But you know your way around so well. I thought you were an Aberdeen native. She just smirked at me. Well, some of us haven't been staying in the train station all the time. I spent the winter exploring and trying to find all the groups. Don't blame me for not lying around feeling sorry for myself like you. I turned away from her, scowling. Then a thought hit me. Is that why you do it? All the travelling around? You don't know anyone either? She didn't answer, just stared ahead, a distant look on her face. We should stop talking. We're almost there and we don't want to be distracted. I decided not to push it. Eventually, we turned off George Street and headed towards the Central Library. We climbed the same staircase that I'd gone down with Sam and Mike the day before and walked across the street, our backs to the library. At the base of the stairs I stopped, pretending to catch my breath. The close encounter here with the chicken had only been yesterday. Even though I knew that it was probably long gone, part of me expected to find it at the top of the stairs. But there was nothing there. I could see the shopping centre where Argos was. We were getting really close now. One more street and we'd be there. Raina looked left and right, as if checking for traffic. I did as well, though I still had no idea what I was actually looking for. She must not have seen anything, because she quickly dashed across the road. I followed her, not wanting to be left behind. All of the city was deserted and slightly creepy, but now this place felt even worse. We entered the shopping centre and Raina gestured inwards. You go get it, she told me. I'll stay here and keep watch. I crept in. It was gloomy. The only light coming in from dirty windows set in the roof. I knew from past visits that Argos was at the back, tucked away to the left. I knew chickens could never get in here, but I kept jumping at every little creak. After passing a couple of deserted stalls, I found the shop I was looking for. I had to stop to fish my head torch out of my jacket pocket and tie it onto my forehead. Then I stepped out of the light. There were no windows in Argos, and without electricity, the lights were all off. I could only see what was in the small white circle of my torch. It moved as I did, always pointing where I was looking. Occasionally it would streak across the walls as I whipped my head from side to side, convinced that I'd seen something moving out of the corner of my eyes, but there was never anything. I walked behind the counter and entered the storeroom. It was well ordered and I was able to find the TV surprisingly easily. I double-checked the number I'd written down from the catalogue and opened the box. The TV was there, small and slim, with a crank on the back to power it. So that was why Glenn needed this particular one. He could power it himself. It was a shame I could only take one. I stuffed it in my backpack and headed back. On the way I passed Waterstones and paused. I thought about what Raina had said about Glenn protecting others, and I felt a bit of respect for the guy. He was still kind of a jerk, but he looked after his own. It wouldn't hurt to bring some more stuff back for him. Plus, it was likely to sweeten the deal. I entered the shop and went to the left where I knew the science fiction section was. I figured that would probably be the sort of thing he was interested in. A title caught my eye and I stopped. It was called Wings of Bronze. It must have been quite a big deal because it was on a table all its own. Big signs saying, "New book! New book!" flapping around it in the breeze from the open door. It actually looked quite interesting, something about airships and robots. I decided to grab one for myself as well. I crammed Glenn's copy of Wings of Bronze in my rucksack and stuffed my own copy in my jacket pocket. Finally, I heaved the rucksack onto my back and started towards the door. Then I stopped, frowning. Raina was nowhere to be seen. I didn't think she would have wandered off, but I couldn't think of any other reason for her not being around. I knew it wasn't a chicken. I'd have heard it coming. So I walked outside, gently calling her name, only to find a white mass standing in front of me. A white mass of people in robes.